news.
Okay, we'll start with this. What is a second look at what could be the Baumgardner versus Persoon fight, the WBC-mandated title fight between Delphine Persoon, the challenger, and Alicia Baumgardner, the champion. Champion who was allowed to resume her career after being taken off the ABC's list of suspended athletes, has seen the WBC ensure the current undisputed super featherweight champion makes a swift return to the ring. The World Boxing Council has called for purse bids this Friday, which will see Baumgardner defend her respective titles against Persoon.
Delphine Persoon, the pressure fighter. Alicia Baumgardner, the pure boxer. Under normal circumstances, the pressure fighter has the edge.
But this is a nuanced situation, because in this situation, the pure boxer actually has more single punching power than the pressure fighter, and in this situation,
the pure boxer is a better physical specimen. Younger, too.
It's not cut and dry like other situations we've seen where a pressure fighter met a pure boxer. It's not cut and dry like that. Alicia is 10 years younger than Delphine. Delphine is 39. Alicia is 29.
Speed, reflexes, they go to the champion.
Arguably, power, too. Single punching power. That there's more power in a single punch, a single shot from Alicia Baumgardner than Delphine.
So what's she got to do?
Well, Delphine Persoon's a pressure fighter. Pressure fighter likes to come forward, throwing punches and bunches. So Alicia, she has to catch her coming in.
Land with authority.
Catch her coming in, then back her off. A single punch, a single shot, even a hard one, even if it lands, that won't be enough to keep Delphine Persoon off of her. Thus, Alicia's going to have to step in, bring over other punches, follow up, build on it, and back her off.
Fight her off.
It's a single punch by itself. That won't do. That won't be enough. Delphine Persoon, she can take a shot. She can take a punch.
It'll take more than just one, even if it's a hard one.
If you've seen one Delphine Persoon fight, then you've practically seen them all, because she seldom ever breaks character. She's all about pressure and volume.
She's going to force you to fight.
Barrel forward and draw you into exchanges. Where I think Alicia may have an out is she's better at angles. Her punches are shorter, sharper. Her hooks are tighter.
Yeah.
To Alicia Baumgardner's credit, she's a lot more comfortable mid-range to inside than most other pure boxers. Most other pure boxers, they get flustered at that range. She doesn't.
Yeah, not all pure boxers can mix it up mid-range to inside. She can.
That's a nuance.
The danger
Is that even though Alicia Baumgardner can handle herself mid-range to inside and get off those combinations, changing levels while she does it, you don't want that to happen too often. You don't want to find yourself fighting at Delphine Persoon's pace, and that's what makes this a dangerous fight, a challenging fight. The Delphine is relentless. Even if you land, she's not going to stop coming after you.
the engine.
I've seldom ever seen Delphine Persoon tire out. I've seldom ever seen her get tired, whereas Alicia, we've seen her slow down. We've seen her,
Even though she's younger.
take a round or two off. You will notice that Alicia's got a lot more musculature than Delphine Persoon. That much more muscle eats up that much more oxygen in the exchange when you're working and you're fighting.
Lactic acid.
Lactose intolerant.
What?
The
What?
danger
What?
is that Delphine Persoon can take a punch, and even though she's up there in age, she has a great engine. So she's going to force you to trade. She's going to force those exchanges, and that may wear on Alicia's energy reserves. She can handle herself at the start when the fight is early and the fight is fresh.
And so is she.
But in round 5, round 6, round 7, how's that gas tank going to be holding up? Because Delphine ain't going to stop unless you stop her. Now, Delphine, she's been stopped before. She has been knocked out before, but that was many, many years ago. Way back there in 2010 in the rematch with Zelda Tekken.
That was 14 years and 43 fights ago.
Needless to say that she's rebounded off that loss and fought quite a few punchers, quite a few strong fighters in the process. So she's not going to crumble off the first hard shot that lands, and she's just as relentless now as she was in previous years. She saw action, too, 2 times last year.
The last time was in November.
So she ain't got no ring rust to shake off, especially if the fight happens in the late spring or summer months.
It's gonna be a battle.
It's going to be a war because, as stated, Delphine Persoon, she forces her opponents to fight. She draws them into exchanges, and for Alicia to win and stay undisputed champion, she's going to have to fight her off. It won't be enough to stay on the outside, pot-shotting every so often, only throwing 1 and 2 punches at a time. There are going to be moments where she has to assert herself.
Delphine won't give her much of a choice. We'll talk more about the fight.
Once a deal is made, a fight date is announced, and that fight date approaches. Men's super lightweight and junior middleweight news former unified champion Jose Ramirez, Virgil Ortiz, are set for April 27th returns. Former unified 140-pound champion Jose Ramirez will make his Golden Boy Promotions debut in a homecoming fight in Fresno, April 27th, and he's bringing unbeaten Virgil Ortiz with him. Two officials confirmed to Boxing Scene. Central California's Ramirez has long enjoyed a robust business drawing fight fans to Fresno's Save Mart Arena, and as he sets his sights on recapturing a belt in that division, he is mulling two ranked foes.
So he's not moving up.
Jose Ramirez has been at 140 for a very long time, and he's a big 140. Story is, before he left Top Rank, his career-long promoter up until that point, they offered him a Teofimo Lopez fight for $2 million, what would have been an extension with Top Rank, but he didn't want that.
They're saying he wants to recapture a title at this weight, but there are no titles on that side of the street. There are no world champions at 140 at Golden Boy.
Court knew an individual connected to the discussions, but not authorized to speak publicly on the matter because financial negotiations are pending. Ramirez is considering a date against either former IBF champion Sergey Lipinets
or former IBF champion Rancis Bartholomew.
Those are two PBC guys. Those are two guys you would normally see boxing under the PBC banner. Further indication that the PBC are left with no choice but to shed the excess, and their fighters are starting to float away. If they're in negotiations for a fight with Jose Ramirez on DAZN, on Golden Boy,
that's what that means.
As the PBC and their limited resources, limited fight dates, they can't afford to accommodate all these fighters anymore, so they're going elsewhere, wherever the opportunities are, wherever the fights are.
I like a Lipinets fight more than a Rancis Bartholomew fight. For Jose, I'd rather see him in there with Sergey.
Both Jose Ramirez and Sergey Lipinets, they're mid-range to inside guys. They're volume punchers. They're action fighters. So action fighter versus action fighter equals action, whereas Rancis is more of a mover.
Boxer.
Long and limber for the weight, lanky guy. He's more of a pure boxer is what he is.
38 years old.
Those 38-year-old legs trying to create space against a very big 140-pounder against Jose Ramirez, who would be making his Golden Boy Promotions debut. This would be his first fight under the banner. What he has effectively done by leaving Top Rank and turning down all that money to fight Teofimo is he's breathed new life into his career.
How?
Because even though that fight would have been for a lot of money, and even though that fight would have been a title fight, he was going to lose. He was going to lose. Stylistically, Jose Ramirez is tailor-made for Teofimo Lopez. That fight would have went the same way the Josh Taylor fight went.
And if he would have lost, where would his career have been then?
If you want to call it a duck, you can call it a duck. You can consider it that. But in doing so, he's breathed new life into his career by fighting under a new banner, a different banner. Now, I don't think for a second he's going to make with Sergey what he would have made with Teofimo, or that he's going to make with Rancis Bartholomew what he would have made with Teofimo.
No.
Those fights are more winnable for Jose than a Teofimo fight would have been, which is what makes it a duck. You're fighting a more beatable opponent for less money. That's a duck. The virtue is, in fighting those guys and staying busy, staying active, he can keep making money, stay in the winner's bracket while he does it, and maybe down the line himself up for a belt. We'll see.
They're doing it in Fresno.
And they are taking Grand Prairie, Texas's Virgil Ortiz with them to further expand on his profile, his following. Jose already has a decent following, decent drawing power in that region of the country. If you take Virgil there...
Oh, Virgil's made for TV.
Virgil Ortiz is another jewel of the De La Hoya stable as he returns from his first-round knockout of Frederick Lawson this past January, returning from the blood disorder, rhabdomyolysis, and the inactivity of just one bout in 29 months before that fight. Ortiz weighed in 2 pounds over the junior middleweight limit.
He basically weighed in as a middleweight, 2 pounds above 154. That's middleweight.
Let's talk about Virgil Ortiz, who is always very, very big for a welterweight. That's where he was.
Well above welterweight is where he is.
The 25-year-old Texan, nevertheless, is ranked at number 6 by way of the WBO and WBC among junior middleweights, and is expected to improve the quality of his competition following his work against the April 27th opponent, who has yet to be announced.
Young Virgil steps back into the spotlight, and he's already off to a busier start this year than he was last year. Last year, he didn't fight at all, rhabdomyolysis.
This year, he's already seen action once in the first quarter of this year in January. He's set to see action again in the second quarter of it in April.
He's already got a rank at 154.
It's a hot division. It's a hot weight class with many, many good fights to make. The landscape is changing. World titles are changing hands. New champions are being crowned. And Virgil steps back into the spotlight and steps into today's junior middleweight division. Some titles are more attainable than others, more accessible.
They said he's got a rank with the WBC. They said he's got a rank with the WBO. By way of the WBC, the next WBC champion will be decided between Sebastian Fundora and Sergey Bohachuk on the undercard of Zoo versus Thurman.
That essentially means is the green belt is on another side of the street. It's over there at the PBC. It's the same with the WBO. Tim Zoo's got the WBO.
So maybe Virgil would be better off reshifting his focus to the winner of Murtazaliev versus Kolkay.
I think it may not be as hard to get to the winner of that fight depending on who the winner is. If Jack Kolkay wins the fight, Jack Kolkay is promoted by Aegon Sports, a German-based promotional outfit. And I don't think there would be too much friction there if Virgil were to go after him as opposed to going after a PBC fighter.
That's if Jack wins.
But I think Jack's going to. I think Jack can manage to beat Bakram Murtazaliev on points on home soil under his own promotional banner. If he does, Virgil should look to fight him.
The caveat.
The IBF have a 10-pound rehydration clause, a 10-pound rehydration cap in association with all of their title fights. If you're Virgil Ortiz and you had rhabdomyolysis,
I just get the sense that would be less than ideal for Virgil, that bit of it.
There is also the WBA title, the WBA champion, who's right there on the DAZN side of things with Virgil, just under a different banner. He's with Matchroom.
That is not an easy fight, though, is it?
No, it isn't. Israel Madrimov thoroughly impressed me, becoming champion, looking the way that he did. That is not an easy fight.
There's lots of opportunities there, though. There's lots of opportunities there for Virgil at 154.
For now, he's got to take care of business in April against an opponent that has yet to be announced, and the focus is just keeping busy. The focus is just getting active. You had a fight in January, you've got another one coming up in April. Let the chips fall where they may.
Beat that guy, whoever that guy ends up being, then see what you're going to do after that.
And finally, in men's heavyweight news, Eddie Hearn has stated that there will be no decision on Anthony Joshua's next fight until after Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk in May. Hearn remains hopeful that His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh will want to make Fury versus AJ next if Fury wins. Vacant IBF heavyweight world title shot versus Filip Hrgovic is also possible for AJ if Fury versus Usyk rematch happens.
My thoughts.
I don't have Fury beating Alexander Usyk. I don't.
Think he loses.
But even if he wins, and even if he proves me wrong, this fight has a two-way rematch clause that Usyk may so decide to activate after the fight, especially if the fight and its outcome is controversial. If it's a decision.
A close one.
Way it looks. If Tyson Fury wins, there may be a rematch. There may be a second fight. Whereas if Fury loses,
I don't think he activates the rematch clause if he loses. I don't think he runs it back with Usyk.
Eddie Hearn seems to want Tyson Fury to win. He wants him to emerge the victor. He wants him to become undisputed champion so he can then segue right into a fight with Anthony Joshua. That's the look of it.
Which would be big.
But the only reason he's rooting for him is because he wants Anthony to fight him next, whereas I view the fight between them as being more likely if Fury loses. If he loses to Usyk, he'll take some time off, lick his wounds, come back, and fight Anthony Joshua for a lot of money. Fury losing to Usyk doesn't stop people from wanting to see him face Anthony Joshua. I don't think so.
Look at how many people turned out to see Amir Khan fight Kell Brook, who were both well past their prime. Both guys were past it. But the rivalry between them went on for so long, and it was so strong that when the fight was finally made, people tuned in. They bought the pay-per-view. They showed up to be there. It would be the same thing between Joshua and Fury.
The same thing. Thinking about the fight in and of itself, irrespective of when it happens or under what circumstances, I have Anthony Joshua beating Tyson Fury. I have Anthony stopping him.
Yeah.
In the last 5 years, Tyson Fury's received a vote of confidence that I don't think adequately reflects the fighter that he is. And the fighter that he is, he's a good fighter. He's a good fighter.
Good.
But an overrated fighter, grossly.
Don't tell me that his boxing brain is so meticulous. His defense, he's so defensively sound that he needed a gift decision over John McDermott, that he was floored by Nevin Pajcik, floored by a cruiserweight in Steve Cunningham, and floored 4 times by the same guy in Deontay Wilder. Don't tell me.
I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you that Anthony Joshua is perfect. I'm not telling you that he can't be beaten. We know he can. He's been beaten before.
What I'm telling you is that so has Tyson Fury. By all rights, he should already have a loss in the column to John McDermott.
And the conversation would have a very different complexion if that
loss
were there in the column.
Modern perception of Tyson Fury is all based on how indomitable he looked against Deontay Wilder.
When you recalibrate your view, change your perspective, Wilder was never that good to begin with, and flooring Tyson Fury is hardly an isolated incident. When Francis Ngannou floored him, Nevin Pajcik floored him,
Steve Cunningham floored him.
John McDermott, many years ago, to many, he beat Tyson Fury. He beat him already. So when I think about AJ versus Fury,
It's more visceral.
there's backstory. AJ versus Fury is not about a belt to some belts. AJ versus Fury is about bragging rights. And for the longest time, Tyson Fury's been sitting on the sidelines, taking shots at Anthony Joshua when he was out for 2.5 years.
He was on the sidelines taking shots at him. When he came back to the sport, he was still taking shots at him.
He's still taking shots at him.
I think to Anthony, that fight is personal. Or it would be if it got made. Yeah.
And I think between Anthony's physical dimensions, his height, his reach,
His athleticism, the snap on the jab, and his power. He touched Tyson Fury. Don't tell me that he can't.
lesser punchers, lesser fighters already have. They've landed, and they've landed hard on Tyson Fury. So I think he would.
I already thought that before the Francis Ngannou fight, before the Otto Valine fight.
Big part of the reason why I thought. Where Tyson Fury struggled with those kinds of guys, that caliber of fighter, Anthony wouldn't, because Anthony's better.
So when you're in a bubble and you're fighting the same guy in that bubble 3 times over the course of 4 or 5 years,
Primarily the same guy.
can affect people's perception.
I favor Anthony Joshua to beat Tyson Fury. In truth, I always have, more so now that he has Ben Davison in his corner. He's got Ben Davison there.
That gives him the inside track on Tyson Fury because he used to work with Tyson Fury.
No, as stated, I don't have Fury making it past Alexander Usyk. I think Usyk's going to wear him out, wear him down.
Don't.
But even if he doesn't, I have Anthony knocking him out.
Prove me wrong, Gypsy King.
I don't think that he can. I think he loses to Alexander Usyk, takes a little bit of time off, comes back, then loses again to Anthony Joshua. That's what I think.
Because win or lose, there's still a lot of money to make. And he wants to make it.